I recently equipped my CNC bed with dog holes and made this cantilever clamp system with which I can really simply and quickly secure workpieces to it. Just like so. And of course this kind of clamp system is not only for CNC tables, it could be used on any workbench or work surface with dog holes as well. But unfortunately it's not always as simple as that. Most of the time the workpieces will be out of the range of the cam levers, and so you will need spacer pieces to overcome this. But I never really liked the idea of spacer pieces because I know that I would eventually lose them, or they would clutter up on the table, or I would throw them away because I thought they were scrap wood. You might think a simple solution to that would be to just make these bigger so that they have more range, but that's not a good idea because the more range they have, the less pressure they can produce. And with not enough pressure, the workpiece might come loose, or these just won't even work. When you compare it to a clamp, half a turn here moves the pad by, I don't know, maybe 2 millimeters, and here half a turn moves 12 millimeters, which already is quite a lot. So I had to think a little bit more about how to get more range out of this without making it bigger. And I eventually came up with an idea. And the prototype of this idea then looked like this. It doesn't really look like much, and in fact has still the same trouble as the other ones. But with that I knew that the concept of my idea was working. So then I finalized the design, and the finished clamp now looks like this. As you can see, it still has the same size as the other ones, but the key feature is this integrated block which serves as a multi-thickness spacer piece. As you can see, it has 4 different thicknesses. And with this you have range from here to here. If that's not enough, just rotate it to the next thickness, then you have more range. If that's still not enough, next thickness, and you have the same range again, and then the 4th thickness. You can achieve range from here all the way up to here, which is about 45 millimeters. But as my hole spacing is 75 millimeters or 3 inches, the 45 millimeters of range is still not enough. So to finally solve the problem, you could use another one of these clamps on the other side, or much simpler, use this block, which also has 4 different thicknesses, and together they then have a range of 78 millimeters, which is more than the hole spacing, and that means that you can clamp any size. But now enough talking, let's make one of these. But we're not using the CNC for this because we all know how boring that would look like. So instead we're making one without it.
And it's as simple as cutting out some templates and gluing them onto some pieces of plywood.
This is also a really good opportunity to use up some small pieces. When the templates are glued on, I mark the center point here. And I also make a little mark with the chisel on this little line.
Then it's an easy task for a scroll saw, bandsaw or jigsaw. The shape and surface should be pretty accurate and smooth, easy to do with some sandpaper or a disc sander if you have one.
I highlighted the chisel marks with a pencil, and with these I can now align the 2 pieces. All you need to do is to look flat onto it and roughly align the marks. Then there also should be an even amount of overhang all around the piece. The alignment isn't that critical. And while the glue is drying, I can make this piece, and therefore I just cut a piece of plywood square. And I don't even bother gluing the template on, I just lay it on there and mark the positions.
With a 15mm bit, the corners will be nice and round and also provide a starting hole for the saw.
As you can see, I failed a little bit drilling this hole here, but that doesn't really matter, it's just a little ugly now.
Making the stop block is really simple, just cut a piece square and drill a hole in the right position.
Once the glue is dry, I can drill a hole for the pipe. And now it's already done. Now it maybe can get stuck when you try to rotate it, and what you can do about this is file this edge here a little bit down. So now let's try it out. Perfect.
With a little bit of finger pressure, they hold the piece secure enough for planing. And this is a change to a different clamping size in real time.
Well, as you can see, really quick and simple to set up and use, and also really simple and cheap to make. I paid literally nothing for this. I already had the copper pipe and the wood, and if you had to buy it, it only cost a few bucks. I only would recommend using birch plywood for these parts. You can also make these in different thicknesses. I will probably make a 6mm set to clamp the thin stuff, and I probably don't even have to make a new one of these. I could just use it with a thin version of this one. The only downside is that these only work with my hole spacing of 75mm, because I designed these to work with that. And if you want to equip your workbench with dog holes, I showed in another video how you can do it by hand with just a drill. But if you already have a workbench with dog holes, but with a bigger hole spacing, or a commercial version like the Festool MFT, then this won't work for any sized workpiece. So therefore I made a second version of this, basically the same, just a little bit scaled up, and in theory it should work with the Festool MFT, but I can't say for sure because I don't have one. So if anybody of you has one, it would be really cool if you can try it out and let me know if it actually works. And of course you can find templates for both versions linked in the video description. Most of the time the workpieces will be out of the range of the cam levers, and you won't need... As you can see, I failed a little bit when drilling this hole here, but it doesn't really matter, just a little. And I also make a little mark with the chisel on this little line. It's a big mark now.